Hello everyone, AlzionTheGreat here, and welcome back to LOL Talk. Before we start, as usual, this is my opinion. Whatever I predict, I'm usually wrong. Everyone mentioned here is better than me. Any images are not owned by me, and I do not make profit off of them, and like and subscribe. So, let's go ahead and get into this. This video obviously is about the recently ended 2021 LCS season. And right here what you're seeing is a brief overview of how this entire thing's going to go. I have a plus and a negative, obviously the team name, record, where they finished, and then I have a letter grade statistically in terms of their stats in the in the LCS, not necessarily how their regular season performance was. That works. How the regular season performance was, but how statistically well they stacked up against other people. And, some of it may vary on performance as well. But for the most part, that letter grade is mostly statistics. Now, let's get into talking about it, but before I'm going to take a sip of water. Alright, so Golden Guardians, 10th place at 3-15. The positive for this season, for this split for Golden Guardians, was development. I think they got quite a bit of good development onto their roster. The negative I take out of this is Niall's development, because he was camped. Like, oh my god, he was camped. The amount of camping is utterly stupid. So I try to adjust this light so it doesn't look like I'm pasty as whatever. But yeah, like, part of the reason that Niles has an F is not only because of how bad statistically his split was, but just literally Golden Guardians did not help Niles, it felt. And although it makes some sense, this is the first pick of the draft in scouting grounds. Like, help him. He learned, he got better as the split went on, but still, like, he just got camped all the time, and it was actually like a noticeable strategy that teams just started camping Niles, and that's how Golden Guardians lost a lot of their games. So Niles has an F. Iconic has a C-. He did okay. Below average, not terrible. A Blaze Olive, same kind of situation there, kind of towards the bottom in almost every metric that I could see. Then there's Stixay at double C-. Or Stixay and Newbie at both C-, I should say. Stixay did his best. That's what he did. He did his best to try and carry Golden Guardians. Newbie disappointed me. I mean, this is like the back-to-back LLA MVP for 2020, so I was kind of surprised at how poor he was playing. But for Golden Guardians, as they said when they first announced this roster, it's developmental. They weren't really trying to succeed. I thought they could be a playoff team, because I thought Newbie would perform better, and I thought 6A would do really good, with the change in scenery from CLG, but nope. Golden Guardians, 10th place. Speaking of CLG, Logic Gaming, 5-13, as they finished in 9th. Oh, and Golden Guardians overall, I think, was D. And the overall, yeah, it was D+. The overall grade is the combination of all the players' letter grades. It doesn't necessarily represent the team, but I feel like it does in some capacity. Yeah, but Logic Gaming, 9th, 5-13. They showed promise towards the end, but I'm a little bit concerned looking towards their future. If this roster, if Finn, Brox, Welter, Wild Turtle, and Smoothie does not work, CLG is going to be in major trouble. I think the only young-ish player on the roster is Finn, and everyone else is like Broxa probably could retire. Belter, I'm amazed he's still in the league. Wild Turtle is actually having a renaissance, so maybe he's not going to retire just yet. But Smoothie's also been in the league for a few years. Like, if they don't start clicking and at least attempt, or at least get closer, get out of 9th in summer, I'm really going to be concerned about CLG's future. Because, as we saw, you know, a sizable chunk of the season, including lock-in, CLG did not have like the best performance from their rookies and everything, or their academy team, I should say. So I'm just slightly concerned about CLG. But Finn did okay. Roxa, could be better. Wild Turtle had a pentakill, and I think he's a big reason that CLG started to turn around in the second half. Smoothie with a C, and then CLG as an overall has a C for CLG. Let's go ahead and get on to the next team, which is FlyQuest. They finished 8th with a 6-12 record. And they had a lot of Bs saved. But the main thing I noticed on FlyQuest is someone needs to step up. And originally the minus was, can somebody other than Jose Diodo carry? But even then, Jose Diodo didn't have a carry performance. Like, Licorice was pretty decent, but it wasn't, you know, considering the years he's had in the past, it was not his best year. And just, this team needs someone to step up. Halifax, Johnson, Diamond, somebody needs to step up. Or Dreams if he's starting. But yeah, Licorice got a C+. Like, not a bad year, but just in terms of him, it's kind of bad. Jose Diodo, a B- for trying to carry the team as much as he could. Palafox got a C-, as well as Johnson and Diamond. I feel like Palafox, as I check the stats here, it was kind of middle of the pack and everything. Yeah, basically just the middle of the pack mid laner in everything, and he was very low K-par. So, K-par is kill participation, if anyone doesn't know what that means. But yeah, I just feel like Palafox had some moments where he was, you know, like, looks like he was taking the next step. Johnson, I think he's missing Afromu in the bot lane. But, yeah. As far as, letter grades for Dreams, he played 3 games. I didn't watch the 3 games. Or I didn't watch the 3 games a whole bunch. So, yeah, I don't know if Dreams is going to be ready. I think they did better with Dreams on the roster. Fun fact, Dreams doesn't have a single kill yet in the 3 games that he played. But yeah, I overall for FlyQuest, it's a C. I think they can improve, but someone needs to step up. As we head over to Immortals. Jesus, okay. Immortals finished 7th with a 7-11 record. They finished better than expected. I'll be honest. They did better than I expected them to do. But the negative was they were inconsistent. And I don't really know who I would blame because of that. I didn't really watch a whole bunch of Immortals games in depth. I did watch a lot of games this split. I watched most of them. I'd say about 80 to 85% of the games this split. And yeah. And Revenge has the D+. Statistically, he's one of the worst. Like, no joke, he's one of the worst top laners this year. Like, next to Niles, so I don't know if Immortals is gonna change it, but I think they need to find something if they need to help Revenge a little bit in the top lane. Xerxes and Insanity did pretty darn good, or not inconsistently good, but they weren't good all the time. But they were, when they were good, they were good, and they got C+ for that. And Raze and Destiny, pretty average. I think they both had some pop-up moments. Destiny in the final game, oh, it was Nautilus. That wasn't even them, but yeah, I think Destiny played Nautilus once. He had a really good game of something. But yeah, I think it was like the last game of the season. That Nautilus game was really good. And I think Immortals just needs to get a little bit more consistent. I think just a little bit more time. I think Summer, they could definitely compete for a playoff spot. But yeah, playoffs were locked in pretty early this split, and you're about to find out why with the next team. But yeah, I think Immortals, they have something. Revenge needs to do better. But C overall, and I'm looking for them to compete in the playoffs next split. Or, well, not next split, but the next part of the season. As we now have Evil Geniuses at 6th with 10 and 8, our first playoff team, might I say. This is a insanely competitive team. They can challenge the top probably better than any of the teams before them and the team in the next slide. But the only problem is they're inconsistent. I mean, Impact, for most of the season, had one of the most feared Renekton's in the entire game. Then Team Liquid, I think, gave it to him, and he gets completely dumpstered. But he still had statistically one of the best years of his career. Or, well, I don't know about that, but statistically he was pretty darn good this season, and Impact definitely deserves an All-Pro vote. Spence Garen in the jungle did pretty decently good. Shizuke, if he's on, he's on. If he's off, he's the fastest first blood in history, but yeah, B+ for him. Statistically very good. Interestingly enough, my main concern for this team heading into the season was Deftly at AD carry. I honestly did not believe in Deftly, but he's actually pretty darn good. I think he has a pretty high KDA. Let me just check real quick. So going by AD carries, Deftly was 5th in kills. He died the least at AD carry, and top 4 in assists. He had the highest KDA at 5.7 of any AD carry, and then he was top 3 in CS as well. So yeah, Deftly actually did pretty good this split, and if he keeps performing like this, I think EG is going to be a potential top contender. As long as one person gets better, and that was Ignar. Statistically, Ignar did not actually have a really good split, but I think Ignar is still valuable to the success of Evil Geniuses, and I really do think that Ignar will get better in summer. I think Ignar, as long as the meta, kind of shapes around the Engage and not Enchanter champions in the support role, I think Ignar can most certainly make a bid for one of the best supports in North America. As we go over once again, and this team is the bane of my existence, apparent. Although I have gone over, I'm going to go over with you why they are not proving me wrong and not proving me right. Whatever. Anyway, so Dignitas finished 5th at 11 and 7. They proved me wrong and they proved me right. Dignitas in 5th. I thought Dignitas was going to be the worst team in the league. Not because they had an all-NA team. I thought Fate God was going to do decently, like middle of the pack top laner. I thought Dardoch was going to be one of the worst junglers this split, because he's Dardoch. Well, that's not really a good answer. I thought Dardoch was going to be bad because I think Dardoch's better. Soligo, I didn't think he was going to be super duper good. I think he was going to be a little bit better than he was in his rookie year. Neo, I had no clue about because I don't know who he is. I've legitimately never heard of Neo before this season. And then I was like, well, it kind of depends on if Afromoo shows up. And Afromoo showed up. And they proved me wrong. And they finished in playoffs in 5th pretty convincingly. They had a shot at top 4 even. But the way they proved me right, if I go and check their record against the top teams, Dignitas is 0-2 against 100 Thieves, 0-2 against Cloud9, and 0-2 against Team Liquid. Now, they do have a 2-0 over TSM, but I don't think TSM is the best team is the second best team in the league right now, even though they finished second. So, yeah, Dignitas still has some struggles beating the top teams. So I think didn't they have a 0-2 against somebody else? Yeah, they lost twice to... No, that was it. Yeah, never mind. That was someone else. Yeah, but Dignitas still... A little bit of questions. Fake God did pretty darn good. Dardoch, even though he had the, like, insane jungle streak where he played, like, 11 different junglers, I think it was, in a row, statistically, he wasn't anything super special. He had the most champions played out of any jungler, but other than that, Soligo did. He started off really good. He was a kind of streaky player. I mean, so was Dignitas, but more Soligo than anyone. Neo has morphed from a guy I literally did not know about to, I think, legitimately an all-pro candidate on Dignitas right now. And Afros has proven to me he's still got it, and the cow is still carrying his team. I think if you take off Afro move from this team, Dignitas finishes 10th. I honestly think so. If you replace him with any other support, maybe except Core JJ, I think this team finishes 10th. But Afro helps. Afro I think is very key to Dignitas' success. And they finished 5th with an 11-7 record, obviously. Overall is B. I still think Dignitas is a little bit worse than that. I don't want to put like a... I kind of want to put like a C.75. They're really close. I guess I could have put B-, but honestly, the only thing I am not screwing around with is the overall letter. Everything else, I could say, okay, I can see why I would put this letter over another one. But the overall grade is just whatever I can find. Alright, let's transition to the next team, my personal favorite team in the league, 100 Thieves. Positives, top 4 team. I expected them to be top 4. Negatives, they were very inconsistent at the end. I think, I forget if it was Captain Flowers, Zale, I forget it was, or not Captain Flowers, Kobe or Zale. One of them said, 100 Thieves lost their identity. And yes, they lost their identity at the end of the season. Someday, statistically, not the best year he's ever had. But then again, when you take a look at the rest of the 100 Thieves roster, it's kind of understandable that Sunday's not having a good year. He's not getting as many resources as he used to, I'd like to think. Closer had a pretty good year in the jungle. Demonte, even though the only reason that it's a B- is because his team actually won a whole bunch. Like, Demonte statistically, Jesus, English sucks. Statistically, worst in the league in kills. He was tied for 3rd in terms of most deaths, and he was actually one of the most assistive junglers in the league. And it is still not good enough for a top. It's not good enough for a top 5 KDA. Ryoma, on the other hand, when he came in, Ryoma, he was still in the bottom of the league in kills, but he died, almost a 1.5 less, a death and a half less per game than Demonte, and he was right next to him with assists with exactly 7 a game. His KDA was 2nd in the league, although he did play 12 less games than Jensen, who was the leader, by the way. And he did have the worst CS out of and honestly, that's the only reason Ryoma is not an A in his substitution. Even though, like, 100 Thieves did not win a whole bunch with Ryoma. I think they were 3-3, is that correct? Yeah, they were 3-3. Statistically, Ryoma actually had pretty good stats for the 3 games that he did, or 6 games that he did play. So it's a B+ right now, and I'm expecting Ryoma to stay in for the playoffs, and 100 Thieves would do that. But in this bot lane, it's probably the best bot lane in league right now. Like, undisputed, I think, best bot lane in league right now, with FBI and Hugi. FBI is an MVP candidate. I think he has a very high potential to win MVP this year. And Hugi has done really good at support. I don't want to say he's number 2 in assists. No. Well, he's number 3 in assists, but on the actual list he's number 4. That's because Dreams has 3 games and he had 9.33 assists per game. But yeah, I think Huhi is still top 3 support and definitely should be on an all-pro team, as should Closer. And 100 Thieves is just really good this season. Their overall is B. I think they could be a little bit better. I think if someday Sitsui performs better, maybe if Demonte learns how to play control mages, because apparently that's his issue. I don't even know what the issue is with Demonte really, but ever since Rioma's come in, he's done good, and I trust 100 Thieves on this, so yeah. Let's go over to the next team. I'm going to take another drink of water. Alright, so third place team is Team Liquid at 12 and 6. They are looking better and better with each and every week. Simply put, my only negative, where was this after lock-in? Liquid should be the #1 team. Like, period. I think they're preseason #1 team. If I knew what happened if 100 Thieves happened, it was 100 Thieves and then Team Liquid or Team Liquid 100 Thieves. I did not think Cloud9 was going to be first this season, but they were, as that kind of reveals who's next and who's last. But yeah, I just don't know where this was after lock-in. Like, what was that loss to Immortals? Getting crushed by Immortals. Like, what was that? But Liquid recovered. I think Alfari is going to win MVP. He won Player of the Week in his last week. He's an A+. And then we have Centaur in the jungle, who's having one of his best years on the best team he's ever played on, at an A-. Jensen actually more of a down year, and I'd like to think. It's more assist oriented, less kills. But I just feel like that's not how Jensen would operate. I feel like Jensen would be a little bit more greedy, a little bit more he wants the kills, he wants to carry his team, because I think that's how Jensen plays. And yeah, it just a down year, more assisted. But I mean, Team Liquid did finish, top 4, so can't exactly argue with it. Interestingly enough, the biggest statistical standout is a negative, and it's from Tactical. He's actually not one of the better 80 carries statistically this year. I mean, kills, he's bottom 4, which is 6th. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He's 7th. Yeah, he's 7th in kills. He is 7th in he's 7th in most deaths per. He has 4th most deaths per game, I think. And then he's quite low on the assist poll. And his KDA is only 7th. It's like he's not doing good this season. CS wise, he's 6th. Like, he's not doing good. And I think he has to show up in playoffs, especially if my bracket is going to play out as it is. I think Tactical needs to get better. For JJ, slight down year, but for JJ in a down year still looks really good. So yeah, Team Liquid overall A-. The only reason it's an A- is because in the calculator that I was using, I can't actually put an A+ in. So I just did A-. Let's go over to the big boys. Team Solomid TSM finishing second with a 12 and 6 record. I think, God. I think TSM top contender for sure. But they have some questionable losses. And that's what is stopping me from saying TSM is the second best team in the league right now. TSM swept 100 Thieves, good. 1-1 against Cloud9, understandable. They swept Team Liquid, great. They lost both games to FlyQuest. And that just is appalling to me. I do not see how they can lose both games to FlyQuest if they're a top contender. But I still think at the end of the season they are. Huni had an up year, although he had definitely some questionable games coming into it. But yeah, he up spring so far. Spica had an okay year. Power of Evil is probably an MVP candidate as well. TSM and great mid laners, huh? We're so lucky. But anyway, The biggest reason why I think TSM is a top contender is because of Lost. Lost went from my worst AD carry, like under Deftly and Neo, my worst AD carry to one of the best, probably top 5 AD carries in the league, just because of his performance. It's been excellent. It has been more than adequate, in my opinion, and Lost has really shown that yes, he can carry, and he is, you know, someone that you can trust with the game on the line. Sword Art also the $5 million man, or whatever million, however much we paid him. He's been good. He's been pretty good. I think it would be a second or third All-Pro team. But yeah, I still think Sword Art has really done good with TSM so far, or at least halfway done good with TSM. I think a B+ overall. I think TSM is very close to where Team Liquid is. It's just performance step ups a slight bit, and TSM's unbeatable. But not yet. And let me show you why they're not unbeatable. Even though they have beaten Cloud9 once, and Cloud9's beaten them, Cloud9 is as good as last year's spring. They're also as volatile as last year's spring. Why? Because of Fudge. Just kidding. It's a lot more than Fudge. But long story short, I don't think Fudge is a good top laner. I think he's one of the worst in the league. But statistically, he's actually done good. I think he died the least out of any top laner. Let me just check that real quick. Yeah, he died. He was at a tie with Alphari for the least amount of deaths. So Fudge statistically did good. Blabber should be an MVP candidate. He's been on fire this season. Perk's a little bit disappointing, honestly. So I just put it at B+, and the spot lane has been pretty darn good, pretty consistent, and definitely at the top of the standings right now in terms of statistics. Sven and Vulcan have just, the Z Vulcan squad have done pretty good so far. But yeah, Cloud9, even though they finished first, it's not a first place record. 13-5 is not a first place record, in my opinion. And I think they're still just as volatile as they were last summer, I should say. Even though it's as volatile as last spring, that kind of goes into last year. I think Cloud9 has the potential to be the best team in North American history, especially this version of Cloud9, even with Fudge on the roster, who I don't really like. But I think Stills is one of the strongest North American rosters we've ever seen, or North American rosters we've ever seen. And I think Cloud9 is a strong contender heading into the mid-season showdown, which, to end off this video, I'm going to have my predictions for the mid-season showdown. First week predictions, Cloud9 will handily take down 100 Thieves 3-1, and then Team Liquid will take down TSM in a 5-game set 3-2. TSM goes to the lower bracket, will take down EG 3-1, and then we have the first upset that I actually think will happen. I think Dignitas can and will beat 100 Thieves in that second week, knocking them out of playoffs. As we go into the semi-final round, I think Cloud9 will take down Team Liquid in a best of 5 in 5 games. I think TSM will just sweep aside Dignitas unless Dig really surprises me, which I doubt is going to happen. I think Team Liquid will handle TSM once again, and I think Team Liquid will break Cloud9 in the finals. I just feel like Team Liquid, even though with all their inconsistency with tactical, less than stellar performances from Jensen and Core JJ, I still think this is one of the best teams in the league in terms of experience, and I think Team Liquid is probably North America's best hope. Because I do not think that Cloud9 has a champion top laner. I just don't think Fudge is going to be good enough to hold Alphari, and if the rest of his team doesn't hold up their end of the bargain and anywhere gets ahead, you've already lost top lane. I really just do not think that Fudge will be able to hold up with Alphari. Now, in the first series, in the semifinal series, the reason I put Cloud9 over 3-2 is because I think that the TSM series is going to, I think Cloud9 will handle 100 easily. I think Team Liquid will have to reveal so much of their playbook in the TSM series that Cloud9 can take take advantage of that, and they could play around Fudge, or at least avoid giving Alfari super duper ahead lanes. It's just, after they do that, I don't think it's 2 weeks, but Cloud9 literally does not have a game for a while. Yeah, it's like 8 days, and Team Liquid will play a best of 5 the day before. So will Team Liquid be gassed? Maybe, but I still think Team Liquid is the better team, and I'm confident in this bracket. I think it'll happen, but obviously, I don't think it's going. I mean, I think it might happen, but I have no clue. So I'm fairly certain it will. But I hope you guys like these predictions. Hope you guys actually stayed and watched the video. But thank you all for watching. Let's go Liquid, and I will see you guys next time.